What's up, Wanna Coffee fam? It's Kai, and we are back, kicking off season 2, and things have slightly changed for us. We will have weekly contributions from strangers all over the world discussing various topics chosen by yours truly. And this is the first time these contributors have spoken to one another, so you are in for a real treat. Without further ado, here's Damien and Rich with Do You Even Manifest, Bro?
So, do you even manifest, bro?
Yeah, so when she sent that to me, and because she told me about it, Kahiso told me about it, and I started to give her ideas, and she said, "Nope, I got the idea for you. Got the perfect co-host to talk about it." So I was like, "Hey, let's dive in."
All
Um,
right.
I know I think it means certain things to different people, and I really be curious, what that statement means to you.
Sure. Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it before, and there are a lot of words in there that I don't often say, right? Like bro is not a word that comes out of my mouth very often, and manifest
Yeah.
isn't a word that comes out of my mouth very often. And actually had to look up to sort of refresh my memory about what the concept of manifesting means
Yeah.
in a spiritual context. And um, it's interesting because in some ways I don't practice that, right? Uh, I don't practice a sort of if I believe that I'm gonna find love, I'll find love. That's not how I approach the world, but I do very much believe in the power of words, right? Like if you name something, then it exists, right? And um, I well before my current life, when I was in high school, uh, one of my intentions was to be a Protestant minister.
Wow.
And one of the things that I uh, really sort of glommed onto was the Gospel of John, right? And
Mhm.
so he was really attracted to sort of Greek philosophy, and he talks part of his gospel. Like there's a whole section that's in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, and that is this whole notion that in Genesis it wasn't that God said, let there be light. He said the word light, and light happened, right? And I find that really powerful, right? That notion that when you name something, it exists, right? If you name, um, I often talk about it a lot in the context of um, relationships, right? Like if you name,
Yeah.
and often in terms, honestly, in terms of abusive relationships, right? When you finally name what it is, then it's real and you can do something with it in
Yeah.
a weird
It's
way.
in the forefront.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a whole lot of stuff. So
No, no, yeah, yeah, no, I completely understand. For me, I'm not a religious person. I come from a family of where my parents were not too religious, but my grandparents were very religious, and I learned a lot of different things from both groups, right? And
sure.
what I've noticed with some of my closest friends who are religious or who are atheist or agnostic. Um, the ones that are, they stay my friends for years and years, and close family members are the ones that do what they say and say what they mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and I think, coming from my side of it, right, I think manifesting is, saying it but actually doing it to create change. I believe
Right.
you can pray for things, you can hope for things, but you have to have acts, right, to take something from religion.
Right.
You've really
Yeah.
got to act on it, you've got to speak it, and you've got to believe it. And I think that activity almost creates a form of good luck. I think
Hmm.
it's infectious with other people when they see you're really walking the line. So
Yeah.
that's just basically how I've always like lived my life in general. A lot of times you have to sort of fight for things that you want, things that you need. And if you believe it and you speak it and you just with all your might, and you try to do the right thing and you practice, I believe that it can come true.
Sure. I can see that. Right. I guess it's interesting because uh, it I can't help but thinking about what is that book, The Power of Positive Thinking? And, I don't want to delve into politics necessarily. We don't have to, but I know that former President Trump, he sort of espoused that notion that if you, the power of positive thinking. And I do think that there is something to that, right? Like you have to have something to hope for, something to strive for, that you can believe you can achieve something.
Right.
But, it can also go, and I think we're seeing this now, it can go sideways really fast, right? Just because we're saying the pandemic's not that bad, or that it's going to be end quickly, doesn't mean it is, right? You have to put, like you say, actions to belief and actions to words. Right. What is it? God helps those who help themselves. Is that?
Yes. So I do know a little bit, about the good book. But I do see that's a good point, because I have many friends here, some of which who have caught COVID. They still go out, they still party, they still do some things that I believe are, unsafe. And it is a wishful thinking, but I think they're not actually acting in a way to solve it, right? Because them going out a lot of times creates a situation where their family members get sick, their children get sick, their grandparents get sick. And I don't want to call anybody out, but it's self-centered. It's just, you're not actually doing right, and I think that's bad. And some of my friends, once they hear this, they might be mad at me. I love you guys. I truly love them. But I know that they are tired of the pandemic and not interested in doing it anymore.
It's hard. It's hard. I guess the thing about this idea of manifesting I don't know, it's interesting, or just makes me think, it's this tension between faith and like you said, acts. That's such a great word, right? It's a tension between faith and acts. And I think you have to have a balance. I think, right? I believe you have to have a balance. Like, you have to believe that things are possible, that things are achievable, that you can find someone you love who will love you, that you can find a way out of poverty, that you can, achieve fulfillment in your life. But I think you can't just expect it to happen, right? You have to couple that belief that things can come to you with, well, how do I help that along, right? Right? I'm never going to meet anybody if I have faith that I'm going to meet folks, but stay in my house all the time.
Exactly.
Right? No one's just going to show up at my door.
Yeah, nobody's going to come because they don't even know you exist. I think a lot of times people get caught up, even if they are religious, they're not even praying for these things. They're just hoping. So if you tell me you're not even going to pray, you're not going to go out, you're not going to do anything,
right?
I don't see you being successful. And I think it leads you to a path of unhappiness, for the rest of your life. We had an actual situation where I'm really close with somebody I went to school with, and I'll just change their name to Chris. And Chris is a Seventh-day Adventist. We went to Purdue together, and turned out to be a pastor. After college, wasn't even his major or anything, but his whole family was Seventh-day Adventist, and he went on to be, a pastor within that religion. And I remember when we first got out of school, he was working very closely with other pastors, like sort of like a church group and things like that. Mm-hmm. And, we're really tight, and he knows that I'm not religious, but he would always come and tell me, he has all these ideas for things that the church should do, his group, things for the youth and stuff like that. But he said he would suggest them, and other people would suggest activities, but nobody would act on them. Like, nobody would do anything.
Sure.
So he wound up going to another church that was more receptive to that.
Yeah.
And the goals that he wanted, things he wanted to do with the youth, they became manifested. They became real because he got with like minds.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's good.
I part of it, as we're talking about it, I'm thinking that there's not just a tension between hoping and doing, but there's a connection, right? And I wonder if that connection of between positive thinking and things happening is that when you open yourself to the belief that things can manifest for you, you are more aware of when opportunity arises, right? Because that's the thing. I believe anyway that the universe offers many opportunities to make your path, right? And you have to see it and see that that's a path and make a choice about it, right? Like I like finding somebody to be your partner, right? You have to either ask them out or say yes when they ask you out and see what happens, right? You have to make a choice. And so, I mean, maybe manifesting works for people because it opens up their mind to seeing opportunity and being responsive to it. And like your friend who saw that there was an opportunity and there was a whole group that weren't seeing it and choosing. And so he said, I got to find people who do.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Right. And I know, a lot of times as you're going through life, you sort of have new challenges, whether it be at work, whether it be with family members and friends. And I know for me personally, a lot of times, I can get down, I can really get down on things. And sometimes I say to myself, there just is no way to solve this issue, right? There's no way to fix this problem. I'll just let it go. And I've really, even though I've seen this 1,000 times and I've gone through it, things begin to spiral and pick up like a snowball, right? And I know if I just put myself out there, like take you have a family member. I know sometimes my father and my brother, they'll get into an argument and it'll last months and I'm just like, man, you guys should really talk to each other, and I'll just say it in passing and things like that. But I know in my heart, I know deep down that if I really just sit and talk with my dad and explain, how my brother's thinking, and sit with my brother and explain how my dad's thinking, and get us together on FaceTime because we're all over the country, get us together, that I can really create a change in the relationship that will, last for at least 6 months until they start arguing again.
Sure, yeah.
But I know that I can solve the issue, but sometimes it just becomes too much. Sometimes you just don't want to do it, and that's when I don't believe in myself, or I'm just tired. And
yeah,
I know that if I go for it, I'll be able to create something real.
Well, again, I appreciate you sharing that because that's really honest, right? But it sort of ties again to that notion of hope and acts and opportunity, right? Like it's hard to take that step when there's an opportunity if you don't have hope, right? If you don't feel like there's a chance. My mother, from the time I was about 3 or 4, has struggled with lupus, and has been in and out of the hospital many times. And for decades, they didn't know what it was. It was at a period of time where they weren't really diagnosing stuff like that. We don't know what it is. We're going to shoot you full of steroids to make the pain go away and see what happens. And, I certainly had times in my growing up watching her where I felt hopeless,
right?
Where you feel like this is going to be like, this is it forever. Mom's always going to be in the hospital. What do you do? This is what my life is. But it's important to find the reasons to hope, right? And again, right, it's weird. And maybe this is just how my brain works, right? Like I tend to think about connections. Sometimes it's hard to see hope or find hope if you don't see opportunity. And it's hard to find opportunity if you don't have hope. And it's all interconnected in these really interesting ways, right?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, many people, I mean, maybe through circumstances of growing up, like yourself, whether it be socioeconomic or healthcare wise, they're like, I'll say damn near impossible to see a way out, to see that hope. Right.
Yeah.
But I believe there's always some sort of hope. There's some sort of angle, no matter how small, to see your way out of tough circumstances. I wanted to ask you though, as a teacher, do you, before COVID and you're dealing with students in person, do you ever have a student where you notice like, hey, they really could succeed better, or they look sad, or they look like they're going through something? Have you ever like experienced that, or worked with them, or helped them solve problems like that? Or I know it's out of the purview of what you do normally, but
I mean, it actually is a big part of what I do in an interesting way. And I have seen a lot of students who who haven't quite got to a place where they believe in their own ability, right? So I teach in technical theater, and I mentor a number of students who are engineers focusing in theater, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's
And
counterintuitive.
yeah, I know, right? I was just working on a whole bunch of math problems for them tonight because I have class with them tomorrow morning. And interestingly, right now, a lot of those students are women, which is, sort of skews the demographic in the College of Engineering at Purdue, right? We have like 98% women in this theater engineering concentration. There's no other major at Purdue that has that many women, right?
Yeah.
But, there's a long history in this country anyway of high school and middle school teachers convincing women they're not able to do math well.
You're still doing that?
Oh, yeah. And
Oh.
I see the results of that in my students.
Yeah.
And they struggle with this self-worth, belief, right, in their own ability to do the work, right? The number of students I've had in my office over the years who basically break down in tears over it is wild, and I have had to learn to make space for that, and to help them. I can't even say I help them, to offer what I can, and maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, in terms of them being able to see their own, maybe manifest their own understanding of their ability.
I see that struggle with you because I guess I'm married, and you're dealing with your wife, and I just had a daughter. I'm dealing with my daughter and things like that.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, she's not. She'll be 9 months next month. So
wow! So you're not sleeping very much either.
Not at all. She wails at night. It's like, it sounds like a cat. Like,
oh my God,
it's just crazy. But when you're dealing from a male perspective, right? I feel like we can solve issues to like make them into their simplest form, right? But with women, it involves a lot of other textures and other layers. And you as a teacher, dealing with women directly, and after all these years, you probably have gotten, the experience and the skill to be able to handle it. But I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, that it is a really difficult thing to understand the struggles that they go through, because quite honestly, from my point of view, it's ridiculous that they would. I just don't understand it. Like, I'm not the type of guy that would even put a woman through some of that craziness throughout school, but you probably see it, and it's just, when you first saw it, it's probably like, man, this is nuts.
It's tough, and it's a challenge. And I think the most important thing I remind myself all the time is that I can't understand, right? I don't have the experiences to understand. And I have the privilege of being a cis male and white, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that I simply cannot understand. I have to just listen, right? And that's the deal, right? And that's often what it really is with these students, is listening and then finding an opportunity to say, yes, but look at how talented you are. Look at this work you've done. Or even, often the one that makes a lot of students cry is, I just want you to know that you have value as a person.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? You're sitting here in my office. You are a person. You are worth time and energy and effort. You have value. And that. I had a student say to me once, I've never had anybody say that to me in my whole life.
Powerful. And I think just when you say that to some of them, it creates little manifesting machines.
I hope it does. That's the goal, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing when you can get somebody to really see that they have value and that they're worth something. A lot of people do things, for their own self-gain, but the gain of seeing other people happy, whether it's kids or your friends or even your pets, seeing your pets happy, it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of tie it back to what we've been talking about, right? Like, how do you, let's say we profess to this notion that if you think it and believe it, it can happen. Or even the other stuff we've been talking about, that if you believe in it and that gives you the opportunity to see the opportunities and to take action, right?
Yeah.
If you don't value yourself, how can you ever have hope?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you operate? Right. That's what's heartbreaking about watching some of these or having some of these interactions is I don't even know how you get through your day if that's the base you operate out of. So
yeah,
we are just about at time, I think, my friend, which is unfortunate because this is such a great conversation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I did, before we had to, research this and speak on it, I don't really think about it from day to day, but putting it into words, I think that this will help us, continue to, manifest our dreams and manifest things in the ones that we love. So.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's a real pleasure meeting you and getting to know you, even in this little amount of time.
Yeah, no, Rich, thank you. Great conversation. And did you graduate from Purdue by chance? Or?
My undergrad was years ago at a school in Pennsylvania, but I did do a Master of Fine Arts at Purdue. I finished in 11.
So you're a Boilermaker, man.
I am. I mean, I've taught here for 16 years, so I might as well be a Boilermaker. So,
yeah. All right, cool, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. I will. Hopefully, we'll do this again. I know they're doing a sort of round robin thing, and
absolutely. Yeah. I hope we do, and get some rest and snuggle your daughter.
Yes, right now, because she's screaming in the background.
Oh, there you go. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, bye.
Do you even manifest, bro? I mean, come on. It's 2021. Who doesn't manifest, guys? No, but in all seriousness, thanks so much for the conversation. Really interesting. That's it for us, folks. Catch us next week for a brand new episode with brand new contributors. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at WannaCoffeePod. That's WannaCoffeePod. I'm your host, Kai, and let's wanna coffee next week. Cheers. Oh my God, orange is not my new black.